After that short introduction, Jeff Brown is going to talk about the top 10 disruptive tech trends. It's very interesting. This came about because we used to co-sponsor with Gartner Group, and we love Gartner. But what we found is that we're out there, we at Corum, some of you know us, is that we're out there every day. We do about 200 events like this a year. We are in Tel Aviv today and Reston, Virginia, and we're all over the world with conferences about this size. And so right there, we're at the ground level, seeing what's happening. And then as thought leaders through education and then doing transactions all over the world in every market, we realize our top 10 list is a little bit different than yours, because we're not sitting at the 42nd floor of some New York tower thinking about this stuff. We're out there every single day talking to entrepreneurs like you. So without any further ado, Jeff?
As Bruce said, I'm going to talk a little bit about the top 10 disruptive technologies. And the perspective I'm going to share with you today is what technologies and technology trends are driving M&A valuations and M&A transactions, which is a little bit different than what technologies are driving consumer adoption, customer adoption. CEO thinks about his products, he thinks about getting them accepted by his customers, while we're thinking about what makes a business valuable and what's driving acquisitions. Subtitle to what I want to talk to you about today might be catching the wave. And really, the question is, are you going to get consumed by it, or are you going to have a great ride and surf the wave out to the end and make it to the end of the wave? So here, top 10 technologies, will they put you out of business? If we look back at the last 40 years or so, the first 20 years of computing was about government computing. Government was the primary driver of disruption in computing development. From the 80s to about 2000, it was business. From about 2000 onward, the adoption or the embracing of the internet, it's really been about the consumer. But through that period, we've seen an awful lot of change and an awful lot of disruption. And to be successful in this world, you really don't need to be driving the disruption, but what you need to be is aligned with the disruption. You need to make sure your business is either embracing the disruption and not being made obsolete by it. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the 10 trends that we see that really you should be thinking about in your business. Now, they may be embraced in your segment to a greater or a lesser degree, but once again, what's important here is, are you being made obsolete by it? Or is a competitor moving more quickly than you are in these domains? Or are you embracing it, aligning yourself with one or more of these trends, and really working them into your business strategy and your story and your message to customers as well as investors? So here are our top 10 technologies. We think about them in two categories: technologies that connect and technologies that create. So quickly, majority mobilization, online exchanges, omnichannel marketing, digital currency, and Internet of Things are connect technologies that we see driving deals and valuation. And amongst the creates and mesh systems, digital force multipliers, positioning intelligence, sports and gaming, and data security. Let's take a look at each one of them. Majority mobilization, and these are not organized by priority, but organized into those two major groups. Majority mobilization. In over 15 developed countries around the world, the majority of citizens have smartphones, not just mobile phones, smartphones. That alone, that statistic alone, tells you something about the power of mobilization and our ability to do some or all of our computing from a cell phone or from a pad. Think about what that enables. I can walk into a store and pay, right? I can find out where I need to go. I can order an Uber car. There's just so many things that are possible simply because the desktop, we've moved from the mainframe to the desktop to the portable device. It really just flips the model entirely, and it's all about putting the power in the hands of the consumer. In the business world, if you're a business, it's too late to have a mobile strategy. It's too late to start thinking about bring your own device with employees. If it's not an embedded component of your operations, you're already behind the curve as a business. Second is online exchanges. It's amazing to think about how quickly and how pervasively this has changed the way we do business and go through life. We've completely eliminated, in many cases, or disintermediated the exchange, the interchange between provider and consumer, right? One of the biggest exchanges, one of the most politically sensitive exchanges that we're dealing with right now is the healthcare exchange, Obamacare. is probably the most contentious example of the establishment of an exchange that we have in this country right now. But before we even think about Obamacare and the impact of that exchange, too many other places where we've had, how do we buy our music today, right? How do we buy books? What has Amazon done? What has Apple done? Ward and I were talking last night about the impact of online exchange and online consumption in the apartment complex. We were talking about an article in the New York Times about one apartment operator who no longer is allowing package delivery to his apartments because it's costing him $8 million a year in porter charges and management charges to get the package from the front door up to the apartment of his residence, right? Unintended consequence of the online exchange. Number 3, omnichannel marketing. Many of us were probably fans of the Mad Men, the cable TV show. Well, in this world, message-based marketing is dead. It's behind us. What we're doing is creating ecosystems, branded ecosystems, that really mold and model themselves to our individual buying behavior, right? With a cell phone, I can walk down the street. My cell phone will tell an advertiser where I am, what's around me, and send me messages about what, based on my buying habits, I might want to be thinking about right now. Fitbit, Under Armour, what are they doing? Under Armour is putting devices in all of their apparel that allows the devices to understand the life cycle of the equipment. Putting devices in sneakers so they understand the life cycle of your sneakers, understand how far through the life cycle of that sneaker you are, and make a suggestion that it's time to order another pair of sneakers from Zappos. This is the sort of omni-channel marketing approach that we're creating, branded ecosystems. I could buy a robot for $500 that understands my moods and might make a Netflix movie suggestion or suggest a cough medicine because of my mood and my health status. That's the way omni-channel marketing is changing us. Number 4, digital currency flow. I think we need to, there's not too much we need to say about this because it has changed the way we do business and pay for things. And really this all started about a little over 10 years ago when the entire physical infrastructure was shut down for a number of days because we couldn't get transactions done as a result of 9/11. That's really what drove the adoption of digital currency flow and the need to take friction out of the currency flow process, drive efficiencies, and make it so much easier to buy and sell or pay for and move money around the world. Internet of Things, IoT software. Cisco believes that less than 1% of the devices in the world that can be connected and should be connected are actually connected. The ability to put intelligent devices out there, understand the operating dynamics of that world, and then drive decision-making and reactions based on what's happening in that operating environment it's got significant power. On top of that, we're approaching the world of autonomous vehicles. Autonomous vehicles, self-driving vehicles, is an IoT application. Most of us have already gone past the time of putting a Nest thermostat in our home, which then senses motion, senses our activity in the house, and will adjust the temperature in the home. That's an IoT application in the consumer world, but we're well beyond that. GE has their industrial internet, right? This is automating the factory, automating the shop, automating the industrial world as well. Tremendous potential, tremendous change there. Number 6 is in-mesh systems, excuse me. And this is one where the lines between hardware and software are blurred. It's hard to know the difference. Moore's law is at work here, where computing becomes faster and faster, more complex, computing devices faster and faster, more powerful, more complex. And we can now build much more powerful systems in miniature, enable much more complex operations. Digital force multipliers. This is the ability of businesses to now create competitive advantage once again. We're actually coming full circle here, where in the old days, the old not-invented here syndrome, and I had to, as a corporation, build my own proprietary systems to support my own internal operations. We're almost coming full circle here, where companies now have the ability, because development cycles are so short, the cost to develop and deliver technology, proprietary technology that delivers a competitive advantage is so much lower, and the time to deploy is so much more rapid that companies can afford to do this again themselves. And as Bruce mentioned, the venture model has changed significantly because of this. Venture investors don't like to invest so much in business ideas and business plans. They want to invest later stage. They've moved down the life cycle some. They're acting more like private equity. They invest in later stage companies where companies have product, they've got some level of market validation and traction. They want that kind of validation and proof before they invest. It's because the digital force multipliers and the time to market and the time to develop and the cost to develop have reduced significantly. We also see this in companies like Google and Amazon, who started out narrowly focused on a particular domain, particular dimension, have used that customer base and have used that technology inroad that they built to expand significantly beyond that into very large footprint for pervasive companies with pervasive offerings. Number 8, positioning intelligence. I now know within a couple feet where I am, both vertically and horizontally in this world, right? The power to know where you are, or somebody else to know where you are, is a part of our daily life. Not only can I navigate myself from point A to point B with this, but I can get messages. I can create an environment around me that is unique to my location in the city, in my home, in my office building, anywhere in the world. That's a significant change for us. Number 9, probably one that we didn't think about, but sports and gaming. A couple dimensions here that are impacting us significantly. But the boundary between sports and gaming, sports and gambling, sports and online entertainment has changed dramatically. How many of you watch Monday NFL football? And yeah, right? Fantasy football, right? The gambling and the entertainment value have come together around sports venue. In-venue technology, in-venue experiences. So I can sit at the stadium and understand and bet on my cell phone on the outcome of the game. When I'm trying to get the New York Giants on the TV at home in Houston, can't get them, right? They're not always on, so I go to ESPN. There, as I watch the play-by-play on ESPN, there's a probability meter, tells me what the probability of the Giants winning the game based on the last play pops up and gets updated after every single play. That's a pretty dynamic tool. Not only that, but we're seeing augmented reality come to play as well in this world, and a lot of change in this area as gaming and entertainment come together. And lastly, need we say more about data security? Significant valuation, significant drivers at work in this world. And it's not just security, it's about privacy, right? Data privacy. How do I make my data private? How much of my data do I decide to expose to whomever, right? Online purchases requires us to give up some of our privacy. Is that worth it? What do I need to give up in order to take advantage of omnichannel marketing, right? Letting somebody like Amazon know where I am and what my mood is. Am I willing to give up that information? Perhaps. And this is in addition to just the large number of data security breaches that we've seen, both at the hacker level and at the government-to-government level, right? 10 big changes, 10 big technologies that are at work for us in the world that are driving valuations and driving deal activity as well.